World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Hello of the Power2Plan show, where together we can build financially responsible leaders. Here we break down financial literacy and entrepreneurship in a way that empowers parents, guardians, and educators to start powerful conversations with youth about money management. Financial literacy begins with simple conversations, and the Power2Plan student planner and financial literacy workbook is here to guide you with a savings template, 12 financial literacy lessons, and tools to help young people prepare for interviews and real-world opportunities. I'm your host, Erodita Anderson, and today I'm joined by someone who is more than just a guest. She is my mentor and a true powerhouse in the world of finance, Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. With over 40 years of experience and ranking in the top 1% of licensed investment and insurance brokers in America, she has dedicated her career to educating families and building generational wealth. She is a trailblazer, a mentor, and one of the most respected professionals in the country. We're diving into the truth about building generational wealth, the misconceptions that hold people back, and the journey of the trailblazer behind this important work. So let's jump right in. Welcome, Dr. Woodhouse. It is such an honor to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much, Erodita. This is so great. I am so proud of you. Go ahead, girl. Get out here and fight this mission, this crusade of getting people to understand how money works, and especially our children.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And having you here today is such a pleasure. I never thought that I would be here sitting with Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse on my show. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Anytime that I can talk to folks and get them to understand how money works and that they got to do something. Now, education is great, but you got to get busy doing, especially in these times, and that's what I love about what you do, to instill in the children to understand how money works. But not only that, but they get the word entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Thank you powerful.
So much. Thank you for seeing the value in my work. Well, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
And before we talk about the future generations, I want to go back to the early beginnings. Can you tell us a little bit about your time working on Wall Street, and what did you learn there that kind of shaped your career path?
Well, what happened is it was one of those things. When I went to a preparatory school, big ups to Bedford Park Academy, and they don't exist anymore, but Uh, we had a school of the average class was somewhere around 5 to 10 students. And we had one Black teacher, Mr. Leroy Henderson, and his entire education group was for business students. And I was like, okay, I'm not going into business. That's what I thought. And so Mr. Henderson had a tax office, and he was really distraught because people were messing up his tax office. They were doing bad things. And so he came into the typing room. Okay, there was a typewriter. There's a real thing called a typewriter, because people don't realize that now we got computers. Nobody knows. But anyway, we had a typing class. And after it, I asked him, did he need help? You see, that's one thing I'd love to say to young folks is that when opportunity arises, you got to walk in and step in and jump in, So he didn't believe I really was going to help him. And so he was like, yeah, you want to come talk to me after you graduate? And I did. And the thing that was so powerful was that I didn't know where he had his office, and I didn't really care because it was an opportunity. His office was in the Brooklyn in Brownsville, and I lived in the Bronx. 2-hour trip to get to him. Wow. And thank God for having a wonderful mother, Burma Woodhouse, fantastic. If I said I wanted to do something, she was behind me. And so what she did is that she says, you can go, you can do this. I'm going with you. I was like, Ma, you can't go to me with the job. You can't. She says, I'm going with you if you're going to do this. So we traveled, and she and Mr. Henderson became great friends. But 2 years after that, I bought the business from him. And in doing so, I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing. Plus, I didn't look like I was 19 years old. I looked like I was 12. So I rehired him to cover the front of the office. And in doing so, the business started to build. I had a business at that point I purchased for 150 clients, and it has grown to hundreds now. But why I bring this up is because of opportunity, but also seeing a need. This is what entrepreneurship is about, seeing the need and the problem and having a solution. The problem was we were back there in 1984. It was a time when interest rates were like 14, 15%. Sounds great, right? Tax rate was 50%. So that meant you were losing money in taxes. And so I wanted to send my clients to get tax-free investments. And I was so excited. And they kept coming back saying people said that they didn't qualify. So I went to Wall Street because I wanted to find out why they didn't qualify. I did find out that the average investor at that time needed to have at least $100,000 in income and $500,000 to invest. That was not my community. Right. And so I wanted to find out how could I help my community. And education came up again, just like what you do. It's the education first. And so how I served on Wall Street, it was not easy because I came with not a lot of knowledge of how money works. I knew how taxes worked. And it wasn't the fact that people really wanted to help me, but I was there. I was blessed with some people who said, give her a chance. And long story short, is working on Wall Street, learning how investments work, the craziness of statements of words, because you got to know the language. Try to explain to a person in our community that you're not going to own the stock, but you're going to trade it. And if you make a profit off of it, you're going to get the profit, and then you got to maybe buy back the stock. That's called short, but no one in the world understands that. So you had to make it so that people understood. And many a times being a Black woman in the industry was not easy. And at one point, again, here goes the opportunities. They, the firm I was at was Omni Mutual at 2 Wall Street. And the owner wanted us out of the office. It was 2 women in there, myself and Sue Saltman, wherever you are, Sue. And he said, I'm going to send y'all to the options exchange so you can learn something about options. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And my cousin Joyce Butts was so wonderful to let me stay at her house. And we went to the options exchange and we learned and got certified. So see, when someone wants to take something or knock you out of the box, here goes the blessing. So you sometimes just got to go with the flow. And
Right.
so, yeah, I became an options trader. Who knew? So that's my world, learning how to communicate, to buy and sell. There was a time, not like now, where you couldn't buy stocks, bonds without having a broker do it. Nowadays, you can trade on your own, but back then you needed a broker, and it takes a lot to get there. But once you get there, it becomes a lot of fun.
Nice. Wow. What an amazing journey. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Welcome.
So, as you were talking about breaking all of these barriers as a Black woman in finance, how did you always keep your cool and stay focused and really just keep your eyes on the prize when you faced, might I say, questionable behavior from your colleagues or clients?
I wish I could say that I kept my cool. I really do. I would love to have that narrative. Oh, it didn't faze me. I'd be lying. I went through a lot of changes because there was just the stereotypes that people didn't believe. And then the fact is that they thought that, how would you know anything about money? You guys don't have any money. That's the kind of stuff that people would say. When I first got there to be interviewed at the firm, and grant you, I was blessed to have a friend who had a friend. That's how you get the connections. And he got me the interview, but that wouldn't get me the position. And God would have it said, this poor child doesn't even know what she's going into to ask for. And so the person that met me at the front desk said, oh, we got another secretary. I had that secretary look. I said, I got your secretary for you. I went to Fordham University. I am a finance major. I am an accountant, da, 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 da. And he's like, really? He says, one of you one of those people who spent 4 years in college, I bet, when you could have been here a long time ago. Wasting time, huh? That's how they talked. And so I said, no. He says, so what are you here for? I said, I'm here. I'm going to be a broker. And he's like, a broker? Really? He said, well, what kind of trading are you going to do? Oh, I know. He says, they're going to put you in the back office because that's where they put you people. They put you in the back office and you do clerical work. And I said, what? He says, well, you don't expect to be a full service broker, do you? You don't expect to really trade, do you? And I was like, okay, those are terms I need to remember. And so I said, of course I do. And so he said, well, good luck with that. So when Harry Abrams came out of his office to interview me, and he said, so what kind of trading do you want to do? Where do you want to be? I said, I want to be a full service broker. He's like, oh, well, that comes with certain licenses and things you got to do, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I can do it. And he's like, So they sent me out, and anybody in the audience who happens to have ever been a broker or in the financial services industry, I had 2 weeks to study for my Series 7.
Wow.
2 weeks. And I later now know I was set up for failure. But but the funny part about it is God would have it. I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman, Reginald Daniels, wherever he is, bless his soul, who said to me, "How long did you study?" He came up from, he says, "Let me tell you, sister, there's a whole lot of salt out here, but it ain't a lot of pepper. So you got to figure out what are you going to do and how you're going to do it." So I said to him, he says, 2 weeks you had to study? I said, "Well, how long did you study?" He said, 6 months. I said, "Oh, I am in so much trouble." So he says, "If you pass, call me. If you don't pass, call me." Well, I didn't pass. I missed it by 2 questions. And so he called me though. And they said I could retake it because originally they said I couldn't take it after if I failed. But they said, "You did 2 questions, girl. Look, take it again." He came, and this is where they say that we as a people don't help each other. That's a lie. This man came every day for 2 weeks and grilled me on what I really became was an options trader on options, and gave me that opportunity to sit at the desk and to be able to trade and understand. And when I got stuck, he was a mentor that I could call. And I got to say, there's another gentleman, Reginald Islet. I guess Reggie's were running for me, but when they tormented me, he would say to me, "Don't let them see you cry.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them see you cry. Do something silly, do something crazy, but don't let them see you cry."
Right.
And that's what I did. But if I hadn't had mentors and people who cared, I wouldn't be here today. Because at a certain point you start to say, "I'm out. This is too rough." But no, they told me you got to stick to it. I didn't know that there were brokers all over the place that looked like me. I didn't see any, but it didn't matter. There was one young lady, and I'm sure she's out there in this world still because she wasn't that much older than myself, Karen Gibbs. She was a trader for treasuries. That was her area, was treasuries. So she didn't really trade on the floor. She just, did regular trading within the treasury market. But no, there wasn't a lot of us that looked like.
Wow. Well, now I see why you decide to pour into up and coming people like myself and mentor us and always be so kind. So we certainly appreciate you for that. And so now, now that you're ranked in the top 1% of licensed investment and insurance brokers in America, which is quite an accomplishment, can you tell us a little bit about what personal principles or habits have contributed to that level of success?
That's a good question. I think the attributes are, number one is the fact that it's something that I'm passionate about. So you have to be passionate about what you're getting ready to do, because there are naysayers all over the world that'll say, "What are you doing? Why are you doing it?" And I'm not interested in helping you do this, So that's what's out there. But you have to be passionate. I did not sleep a lot. I gave up a lot. A matter of fact, how I wore myself out to the extent that when I was 25 years old, I had a stroke because I worked incessantly. I had clients that were international and domestic. And so time frames, plus as a woman, it was really one of those that I almost wanted to not be a woman. I know that's going to sound kind of strange, but I wanted to be with the guys. So I wore my hair in a ponytail. I wore a suit and tie. I was trying to hang with the guys instead of just being myself.
Right.
And that's the key, is to be yourself. And when people at a point, the thing that my mother always told me is that if you want to challenge, if someone's challenging you, you want to beat them at their own game. So my goal and dream was to be one of the top brokers at the firm. And I had a route to go because remember, the average client had about $500,000 to invest. My average client had about 100,000, or some of them had maybe 50,000. So I had to work extra hard. We were a venture capital firm, which means that we bring investments. We raise money for people's projects, people's company, sort of like Shark Tank today, except for we didn't have a Shark Tank then. And so those are some of the principles is that, you got to keep your eyes on the prize. You got to fight like there is no tomorrow. And you got to not listen to people all the time. If people aren't mentoring you, who's mentoring you have not become successful in their field, then maybe you want to listen to someone who is, and you're not going to listen and do everything that they say either. You got a mind of your own, but it's if they fought the battle and they won or semi-won, if they get to that level, then you got to listen and do and take it to the next level. I'm looking for people now to take the reins. This is a different market. This is a different industry now. When I was starting, it was about sell, and quotas. There was no NASDAQ. There was pink sheets. There was penny stocks. It was a different world. The Dow Jones was 1,800. Okay, we're up to 47,000.
Right.
If someone had told me back then, if I just had a quick crystal ball, oh my goodness, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be on an island somewhere, owning the island. But that's what it takes, it's listening. The key is that you have to have the fortitude. I'd love to tell the story about 409. There's a cleaner that's called 409. And a lot of people don't know why it's called 409. It's called 409 because the man who invented it took 408 times failing. And when he got it right, he named it 409.
409. Wow. Look at that. You learn something new every day.
And that's what I think about. As a matter of fact, I remember I was a keynote speaker at Touro College for their undergrad division one year. I think it was 2014. And that's the story I told, because the key is no matter what you feel and what you think, and that the failures come and things, don't work the way that you want them to work. Oh, that's okay. Put yourself together and keep going with it. If it's your passion, if it's not, then, it's okay. Let it go. But I was passionate about bringing the financial literacy to my community. And to this day, that's what I still do is that I will do seminars. I will get out here and pound the pavement, and I will do things that I wouldn't normally do for other communities because they have it already.
Right.
And so that's where my passion is.
Well, thank you. And we are so happy to have you as a mentor and as someone in this field leading us to becoming financially literate and also building generational wealth. So if you had to just tell the audience what is one step you believe every family can take to start building generational wealth today? What would that be?
One step. Can we put a
First
package together? The best thing that you can do as a family is to encompass and find some financial educator or financial advisor that will sit with you. That's the first step, because you got to know where you are to get to where you want to get to. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to set up a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. So a family needs to, one thing else they need to do is stop hiding the stuff from the kids. Talk to them. Get your book, Power to Plan, the 12 envelopes. You got to get those. I have been looking for ages to see who could put out something that was for the children, because a lot of the financial books and things that are out here go way over their heads. Shoot, it goes over their parents' heads. So something that's simplistic. And why I love your 12 envelopes.
Yeah.
When I got my first little job, that's what I did. I started creating envelopes. And this was for this. This was my budget, and what I could, but I always put together something that I could have fun. And so we got to make the whole education about money has to be fun. It's like I don't know who told someone that mathematics was hard and it was bad and nobody does math. I don't know who does it. I love math. Numbers never lie, just people do.
Absolutely. And I always appreciate your love for my 12 envelope system, because, when I was designing it, when I was thinking about it, it was literally that, right? A tool designed to help parents and guardians and educators start the conversation with their youth about financial literacy. So if you don't know where to start, you don't know what to say, you can just pick up the 12 envelopes book or the financial literacy workbook and start with any of those topics and just really, really start talking to them about financial literacy. And by the end of it, parents will learn something, the kids will learn something, and we will be on our way. So thank you so much for that. And I cannot believe you literally mentioned what my next question was.
Okay.
It just makes me think about, when I was facilitating workshops at the Boys and Girls Club, I find that parents shield their personal finances from young people. We did a quick activity. They didn't know how much their rent was, how much the light bill was. They couldn't even tell me how much a gallon of milk was. So here I am thinking, how can you become financially literate? How can you learn to save when you can't even tell me how much a gallon of milk is? So to you, I ask this. How should parents talk to their kids about credit, debt, and financial mistakes without creating fear or shame, but so that they can genuinely learn?
Well, I think that one of the things that parents need to stop doing, number one, is shielding. You don't have to tell it all. Don't necessarily have to tell all the bad stuff that's happening, but give the information so that the next generation won't fall into it. So first of all, okay, plug number 2 is get the Power to Plan book, and then sit with them or get the How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker book and read to them and get them to start to ask questions. Get them to start, years back we used to have a piggy bank. Nobody does piggy banks anymore. They don't have the children's little accounts, but you can get a Robinhood account. So we need to look at including them in the world of really how money works. Take them, get them a little bank. If they can't open up a bank account, they have to open up a bank account now with their parents, as the uniform gift to minors. But they could still participate and start adding, even with the stock. If the parents don't know, the parents need to attend a workshop. We do workshops every Wednesday at 7 p.m. online. And anybody wants a link to it, all they got to do is send me an email because we do it religiously. Yes, go to Naj Enterprises Inc. at Gmail, because we do these. It's only 30 minutes because attention spans. But the key is to include the kids. We need to watch what we say and what we do. What do we do? Most of the time, just this little thing is that what do we do when it comes down to going to the ATM? What do we say? Oh, got to stop by the bank and get some money. But we never say the whole story. Mama and dad had to work to get the money into the bank account. So I had a youngster in my office, and he was thoroughly lost because he said, when I get 18, I don't need a financial advisor because I'm going to have the money card. And I was like, what in the world?
The money card?
What's the money card? Okay, so when his mother came back in the room, he said, the money card. I said, what is he talking about? He went in her purse and got that ATM card. And that was an eye opener for me, because that means that, what do we say? We have the card in the hand, we get to the bank, put it in, and we get money out. But they have a disconnect. We need to teach our children to have a relationship with money. We need to have a relationship with money, because if we don't, we start giving it away too soon.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree completely. And we had a question for you in the chat. Let's see. So, what are some tips you can give a kid that's trying to start saving?
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. So it starts with this. Okay, I'm going to say a bad word: budget. So I understand that children, not everybody gets an allowance. So we need to start to groom them in the world of allowance. And when they get their gifts, for graduating or getting a good grade, shoot, I remember we got $1 for every A we got. Now it's up to like $5, $6, $10 for an A. But when they get it, don't just give it to them. Work it, sit them down and work out the budget. Okay. One, if you're spiritual, you do a tithe at 10%. Two, you now have something that you want to save for. Ask them what they're saving for. They put that to the side. Three, now, what are some of the things that you should be paying for in this household? Oh, you want to pay for your desserts? You want dessert. That's a treat. You want to pay for it. So that's $8 or whatever for the lollipops, the candy. Get them involved and then have them sit down and then start to build on it. So I think that we need to talk to kids about some of the general things. Now, those who are parents who have a little bit more wisdom in the market, then you can start to talk to them about what they like. I can give you some good tips.
Right.
What do they like to buy? Is it Nike? Is it the GameStop? Well, the GameStop is out the door, but anyway, the games that are out here, the PlayStations and things. Well, they could have a little bit of that. They can buy fractional shares. And in doing that, you can now teach them how to monitor a stock. There's another group that's out here that deals in children. It's The World of Money with Sabrina Lamb. And that camp helps children to understand the basics, and then they put it into action. So we need to do the same thing with all of our children.
Thank you. Yes, I absolutely love everything that you just mentioned. And now I know why you're in the top 1%, because once again, you just touched on my next question with the investment piece. So I feel so many people want to get into investing, right? And they hear about investing, but they're afraid to invest, or they say, I don't have any money to invest. If I had as little as 50 or $100, what would you recommend
Oh,
we
goodness.
take as a first step if we are looking to invest?
Well, if you're looking to invest, before you invest, you need to sit with a financial advisor. And the thing is, some people say, well, I don't have enough money. There are people, and especially in my office, that will take that time to go over what is investing, because everybody's got this get rich quick idea. I'm going to buy a stock and it's going to quadruple on the market and it's going to split a zillion times and I'm going to be a million trillionaire. That's not how it works. So what I would say is that if someone's really, like, I have a young lady, she's 16 years old, and I love this. Her grandfather gave her $2,000 to invest. And so, of course, our first meeting, she was like, so what should I do with this? What's the best stock going in? I was like, that's not how it works. We're going to give you a little bit of a class. And the class is that we're going to pick some things that you like to buy or like to do and see how we can equate that to the market and what the market, with who you're investing in. And I said, if you've got the idea of this is going to be the get rich quick world, we're not doing that. We're doing this so you can learn how money works. So yeah, that's where I think that with children who want, and adults, is to really take time and work with a financial educator, step into classes as much as possible. That's why we do it at 7:00. We say you can get knowledge in your PJs. Okay. But that's what the focus is on. And then attend workshops. We will be doing for the year 2026. We're going to do a lot of workshops. And Erodita doesn't even know that she's going to be doing a lot of workshops.
Oh, okay. I love it. I'm ready.
Yes, because we've got to have sessions that we can bring the basics. See,
Right.
the world of Wall Street is a different language, but it can be explained very simply. So all we have to do is break it down, certain little things, and make it easy and then make it fun. I remember in my high school, we had what was called a mock stock market. So we were able to buy stock. And I still to this day think that those teachers took our research and made money on it. But that's what we were to do, was to understand what this market was all about. And how it related to us. The teacher, I never forget, he said to me, well, what do you drink? And at that time, I'm doing real unhealthy stuff. I had Coca-Cola, and he said, well, now you need to look up Coca-Cola. You need to know the highs and the lows of it. And I was like, oh, okay. Now let me let you know, I did not think ever that I was going to be trading. And that I always had this image of I was going to put money into an account and forget about it. And then years from now, when I'm old and gray, I'd have like all this money in it because I left it all alone. That was my thought. Of course, that's not what happened. But yeah, to get started is really to do the basics and don't get the books that are out here that are real heavy financial books.
Right.
Get the simplistic ones, and work with it. And then don't be shameful to ask for help. If you don't understand a term, and so you've read the term and you still don't get it, Well, ask somebody who should know. Hopefully they know. Just don't ask, what is it? We get our investment advice from Joe the Elevator Man. Don't do that. Talk to a professional.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Talk to a professional. And I think here we are. We have a professional right here. So let's talk a little bit about IULs and whole life policies.
Okay.
So, IULs, or Index Universal Life Policies, are kind of trending everywhere right now. And I just wanted to ask you if you could clarify for the audience, what is the real difference between an IUL and a whole life policy, and who may be best suited for which product?
Oh goodness. That's a whole mouthful. Okay. First and foremost, and we're on this infamous world of the internet. I want people to know an IUL, a whole life, a VUL, all of those, they're insurance policies. They're related to your life or whoever the life is written on. It is not become a bank. Okay. Become your own bank. That's one of the things they should, and I'm glad they did. They've outlawed it for insurance people to even call it that, because it's based on your life and your life.
Mhm.
Now, let's get to the differences between them. Is that when the insurance company, and I'll tell you this way, I always think about insurance companies. They're like casinos. They always going to win. You just got to figure out how you're going to get your part. Okay.
Right.
So first and foremost, again, is the fact that since they're a life insurance policy, one major factor, you got to be healthy. The younger, the better. And it's a place that you can get the best of both worlds. You can have growth while you're getting income or building income in your investment, tax deferred. They call it tax advantage, which means you don't pay taxes on it while it's growing. And you have the opportunity to take it out without paying taxes on it. Part of it, up to 95%. Okay. So that's the basics of where they both are the same. You can take money out. Now, here goes the differences. The whole life is just like what you say, because there's a thing called a premium that you got to pay to keep this life insurance going. Why? Because there are charges in there. They're not doing this for just their own benefit. They charge you, and there are fees to maintain. There are fees for advertising. There's fees for maintenance. There's fees to pay the people who are watching and actuaries. All of this is in the policy premium. So for both of them. But the difference comes into play is, where do I get my growth from? How does it grow? With an IUL and index, well, I'll give you two guesses, but the bottom line is it's connected to mirroring the index, the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 has its ups and downs, but for the most part, it has been pretty stable. They say on an average, the S&P 500 has done about 9%. That's great, but it's had lower. Okay. But the reason why you're doing something that's called, when you're dealing with the universal life, you're putting that premium in every month. And as you're doing it, you're doing something called dollar cost averaging. Okay, I got that look. So dollar cost averaging, you get to buy when it's low, you get to buy when it's medium, you get to buy when it's high. So you can get the average of what the market is doing. Whereas with the whole life, the insurance company designates what the interest is. So when you're looking at it from that standpoint, why whole life, which you're going to be paying the premiums your whole life, it's for a reason it says that. You've got to keep it going and keep it alive and keep funding it. And in doing so, the whole life policy keeps things steady, but the interest rates usually are low. Whereas if you have the indexes, you have the highs, the lows, you have a bit of both worlds. And the beauty in it is that you still get the opportunity to take advantage of the market in some ways, because people think that the index universals really are the index. It's not. It's mirroring the index. But that's what the insurance companies are basing their returns on. So which one is better? It all depends on what you're doing it for. Again, back to the point of, okay, I'm doing this for my child. I think that's one of the best gifts that you can give. I really think, even to the extent that other, like a VUL, a variable universal life, may even be better. But it all depends on what the parent's goal and objective is. Also, the beauty in both of those is the fact that when you fill out that FAFSA form, as opposed to the 529 plan that you got to report and tell, nobody knows about it. Because why? It's a life insurance policy. So they can't take that as an asset, even though they're getting a little bit more wiser these days and
I
asking
know.
what kind of assets you got, and do you have a life insurance policy that has cash value. So both of them create cash value. The opposite is how they create it. And one is, of course, off the indexes, the other is off of what the insurance company has designated as the interest. When interest rates drop to 1%, well, a lot of whole life insurance policies were like 0.5%, you know. But
Certainly.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's certainly a lot of information to digest, and I am so happy you were able to start the conversation about the importance of these policies and the difference between these policies. So for people who may have questions about selecting a policy that's best for them, how can they contact you?
Oh, they can contact me at my office, 646-375-2121, or they can email me at anagenterprisesinc@gmail.com. And I will be glad to give any information. We give a free financial overview for anyone. Yes, it's free. Some people have called me and said, yeah, I probably got to hang as is. I'm kind of where you trying to get. Well, no, we're not trying to get more business, even though I'm not turning it down. But the thing is, I want people to get a roadmap to where they're going so that they can follow where they're going and get to where they're going. I have had clients that has been such a blessing that back in the days, they started with me, and all these 30 plus years, they now have had their homes paid for. They've had their retirements. Their children have gone to college, and that's the blessing. That's the feeling of when you're in this industry, is to help people to reach their goals, and you get to yours too. You will accomplish, But one more thing with the IUL versus the whole life.
Of course.
You have to really remember again that it's life insurance. Number two is the fact of what you can do with it, as far as, yes, there's things you can do to borrow from it and get money out. But you can also lapse that policy and get it to go bye-bye on you, So you want guidance. What are you doing this for? And again, life insurance is important. We have Life Insurance Awareness Month in September, and I tell this all the time. Put something away and make sure you build for these children. I honestly believe that if we put together and got the children while they're well, that at the long term, they will have that. If you teach them that they need to keep it, and even to the small levels of the Gerbers out there, I'm not a big term person. Please forgive me. We do have a site that calls, it's called, what is it? Check your term, shop your term, shop your term. So it's shopyourterm.com/Jana B Woodhouse. But I think it's just Jana B because I had to cut that Woodhouse because it was so long. But the thing is that if you're using, get it while you're well. Children, juveniles are usually well and healthy. By the time they get to the ripe old age of 50, there's some issues. So if you started young, the premiums will be small, the investment side would be long and larger for you. So that's what you need to do to get things started.
Thank you so much for really explaining that because it can be so confusing. And the last thing we want is for people to avoid policies due to lack of knowledge. So happy to have you here to share this information and to really just help people get started.
That's the whole key, is to get started, do something,
Right.
and don't do everything with, what did they say, you Google it. Yeah, but when you Google it, okay, my philosophy with Google is I Google it and then I go like 3 or 4 deep because somewhere in there, someone's just advertising. They're not really teaching. And so, I'm glad you asked me about the IUL versus the whole life and the fact of people needing to have to keep it going. Don't stop it. When you get a policy, just because things are tight, make sure you budget it when you're doing your budget that it gets paid too. It should be on an automatic payment. And don't think about it as being the first place thing that you're going to stop paying.
Right.
Yeah, because in the long run, we need to, and I'm on a crusade for this, get rid of GoFundMe accounts. You fund you. That's what I did a session on. It was like, you go fund you. Make sure that, I think it's the worst thing in the world to have a no kind of policy, no way, no death benefit. Now, you want this elaborate funeral, but you didn't do anything to get the money so that the people can pay for it. You don't put the will together. I mean, I could go on and on about what people don't do. And I think they all need to be slapped for it because they need to put your life in order. You need to why are you leaving it for other people to decide?
Right. Well, that's why we have you, so that we can
And you.
certainly get things started. Yes, yes. Well, so just to pivot a little bit, with such an accomplished career, is there anything you wish you would have done differently on your journey or anything you wish you knew sooner?
No, I would love to have known more about the market much sooner,
Yeah.
the ins and outs. I think that's so important for young people to know. Other than that, I think that I don't have any regrets because I love what I do. People have asked me, when you going to retire? I said, retire means I'm tired. I'm not tired. I may fashion it different, but that's what I wish really, I think also is that I got an opportunity to mentor more people and get them really in the industry. And especially, I know I'll be held for this, but especially the Black and Brown community. I really wish, and I'm still working on it. That's why I'm looking for these soldiers, is to learn and then be able to share. We don't need secret agents, people who don't know what they, what do you do? No, tell them what you do. We have even access to what we call our financial literacy quiz that would allow you to know, you don't have to tell anybody what you got, but you can know where you are. And then after you take classes and learn and read the books, read all the books. Once you do that, then you get an opportunity to see where you've grown and financially, and then make sure you pass it on. Why? Because we need the legacy. We need to be able to make sure that if John put away $30,000, John Jr. turned that into $60,000, and then John the third turned that into $100,000. That's what we need. Not John had $30,000 worth of debt and he passed it on,
Right.
the whole or he used John Jr.'s social security number because he damaged his. We got to stop that.
Absolutely. And that is definitely another lesson for another day. But Dr. Woodhouse, I feel like there's not enough time in the day for us to really get to know your incredible story. And I'm sure people who are tuning in want to hear more from you and want to hear more about your full journey. So when will we get the full story of Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse?
Well, I am truly looking for a writer because I'm a mathematician, and I'm still, I think the producer, Matt McCoy, this show is looking for me because I would love to tell the story. And some of those stories are not that great, but it's needed to be known. And the trials and tribulations, but the triumph is that, people are not always going to acknowledge you. But truly, my biggest acknowledgement was the Wall Street pioneer at Black Wall Street. That was where my people recognized that I was there. That meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Woodhouse, thank you so much for everything you have shared this evening with us, for being here with us, for sharing your story and your passion for financial empowerment, and also for your great mentorship to me.
Oh, yeah, I'm not done with you. We just only begun.
Oh, well, I love to hear that because I am ready.
That's good because I'm ready to, because, the most beautiful thing is that if you can help someone else move to the levels that they want to do, I know you put a lot into those books, and that was you got past skin in the game. You gave it your all, and so now we've got to get it to the level where these people understand and that they utilize this, and take it to the next level. So yeah, we're gonna have fun.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Woodhouse, and for joining us this evening and for seeing the value in my books. I appreciate it coming from you. It just makes my little heart smile. I feel so warm inside. Dr. Woodhouse, again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And just know that your leadership continues to inspire me and inspire all of us. We are honored to have you here at Power2Plan and also here at Soul City.
And get the books.
Yes, please get the books. Dr. Woodhouse, have a great evening.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Power2Plan Financial Literacy Show. A huge thank you once again to Dr. Woodhouse for sharing her journey and reminding us that we can begin building generational wealth with the decisions we make today. If something resonated with you, make sure you connect with her, support her work, and ask her about how you can take those next steps. And don't forget, this platform is all about empowering adults to help the next generation plan with purpose, develop strong financial skills, and grow into confident, financially responsible leaders. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs it, and stay tuned for more conversations. If you are ready to begin exploring fundamental financial literacy topics with youth independently, The Power to Plan Student Planner and Financial Literacy Workbook is available to support you, so please be sure to secure your copy by visiting my website today. I'm your host, Erodita Anderson, and this has been the Power to Plan Show. Until next time, remember you have the power to keep planning, keep growing, and empowering our youth to make informed financial decisions.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can